This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's June 4th, 2025. I know I'm a little late with this, but you may have missed a holiday this week. Sunday was Animal Rights Day. It was observed with events in 172 cities across the globe, and it's a serious thing, meant to highlight the ways that humans abuse or kill other species. But on a much lighter note, you could say that one zebra celebrated it in their own way by running free in Rutherford County, of all places. As you may have heard in yesterday's newscast, the animal was brought here as a pet on Friday and almost immediately managed to break out of its enclosure. At one point, it was running down the interstate on the south side of Murfreesboro. Clearly, that animal had its own idea of where to be, and that wasn't its new intended home. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with some context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. As crazy as it was to see a zebra on the loose in Middle Tennessee, I suspect I wasn't alone in also being astounded to learn that it is legal to have one here, which made me think I should find out more about the laws governing animal ownership in this state. Well, it turns out that a couple of years ago, the University of Tennessee's College of Veterinary Medicine compiled a handbook of most state laws pertaining to animals. Not all of them. The foreword makes it clear their list is not exhaustive. Even so, it's a full-on book, 345 pages long. Now, there are way more laws about dogs than you might suspect. A ton of rules and regulations dealing with the care of livestock like chickens and cattle, and of course, laws dealing with hunting and fishing. But for our purposes today, the most important part of state code is Title 70, Chapter 4, Part 4, Exotic Animals. It sets up certain classifications of animals with different rules for different groups. Classes 1 and 2 pose a high danger to humans, the only difference being whether they are native to the area or not. Natives are Class 2, from other parts of the world, Class 1. Pretty much only zoos can own them for safety reasons. And we're talking here about bears, alligators, big cats, wolves, gorillas, elephants, any poisonous snakes or lizards. For those classes, they can only be owned if you have a paperwork trail showing where they came from and how you got them, too. You got to have a permit, and the rules get very specific about the kind of holding areas you need to have for certain species. Now, Class 4 are animals limited to places like zoos because they are native species that should be left wild for conservation reasons, like wild turkeys and white-tailed deer. Black bears and bobcats are in this group, although I would think there's significant crossover with Class 2 criteria for those guys. And Class 5 animals pose a danger to the environment. So, like the other classes I mentioned, they're also zoo-only animals. In the middle of all that is Class 3. And these are the animals you can legally have as a pet or raise on a farm without any special permissions. Your classics are on this list. Domesticated cats and dogs, poultry, cattle, sheep, goats. The little rodents like hamsters and gerbils are on this list, along with rabbits, aquarium fish, parrots, certain reptiles. You know, the animals you might expect to see in a pet store, and the ones you normally spot in pastures when you're driving down a country road. But there are also a bunch of animals specifically in this class that would be an absolute shock to spot wandering afield in Middle Tennessee. Class 3 includes giraffes, camels. Kangaroos are okay. The law does not specifically mention horses because the entire equine branch of the mammal family tree is allowed here. That's how that zebra is illegal. So is an ostrich, by the way. Oh, and unlike some other states, you can have a ferret here. But you know what isn't legal? Importing a skunk into the state. They live wild here, but you better not bring another one in. You can't sell them or even barter them. Any of that is a misdemeanor. Really, only zoos and wildlife rehab experts are supposed to handle them at all. But I digress. The Class 3 animals are all fair game for regular Tennesseans to own as far as the state is concerned. The sticky thing becomes whether or not you can have them on your property. And that's a matter for local codes and zoning. Now, in Nashville, you're looking at Chapters 8 and 17 of the Metro Code. It's got some blanket rules, like one that says you can't keep an animal so loud that it disturbs the peace, no matter what kind of animal it is. That's considered a public nuisance, legally speaking. Other rules get super specific. You can get a permit to keep hens in the city, but that comes with a lot of detailed regulations. There are specific agricultural zones in Davidson County where all kinds of farm animals are allowed, but only in those zones. So, for instance, folks in Green Hills, the Nations, or Inglewood can't keep a miniature horse in the backyard. It all gets a little complicated, especially when you get into the nitty-gritty of local rules. But here's the bottom line. You, as a normal person, can own a giraffe in Tennessee. You just may need to be careful about where you keep it. And as that escaped zebra would likely want you to remember, none of that guarantees your giraffe will want to be kept. In just a few minutes, this week's edition of What Wear Wednesday. That's coming up after the newscast.
Nashville Public Radio is always here to keep you informed, whether it's the latest news or music you should check out. Every week, What Wear Wednesdays shares the latest happenings taking place right here in Nashville by talking to members of our community, putting on events in your neighborhood and beyond. So tune in to What Wear Wednesdays every Wednesday, and you can always find events at WNXP.org/events.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. The U.S. Senate will soon vote on Trump's big tax policy known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. It cuts some taxes and increases military spending. But the bill will also roll back most clean energy tax credits. WPLN's Caroline Eggers says this will raise energy costs in Tennessee.
As climate change accelerates, this bill will delay the transition to cleaner energy. Consumer tax credits for electric vehicles, heat pumps, and rooftop solar will be phased out within a year. The bill also slashes tax credits for large-scale renewable energy, which has been the cheapest and most common form of new electricity. And the bill has fossil fuel industry goodies, like ending taxes on methane and expediting approval for oil and gas projects. All of this will raise energy costs. Some research shows the average household will pay $300 to $400 more annually in a decade. Tennessee is forecasted to have among the highest electricity increases, with bills going up next year. And there's one other big economic impact: Tennessee's manufacturing boom. The state has seen billions of dollars invested in creating clean tech like batteries. Some analyses say new factories and their associated jobs will be at risk. Caroline Eggers, WPLN News.
The U.S. House has already passed a proposal that would slash spending on SNAP, also known as EBT or food stamps, and that would restrict access to TennCare. The cutbacks would affect hundreds of thousands of Tennesseans. WPLN's health reporter Catherine Sweeney tells us local disability and patient advocates are putting pressure on the state's senators.
Safety net organizations hosted a protest outside of Senator Marsha Blackburn and Senator Bill Hagerty's offices in downtown Nashville. About 250,000 Tennesseans could lose their health coverage because of cuts to Medicaid and changes to Affordable Care Act marketplace policies, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. And about 150,000 people could lose SNAP benefits that help them get groceries. Janine Carpenter spoke at the protest on behalf of the Chattanooga Area Food Bank.
For every meal we provide, SNAP provides 8. So if we take these benefits away, we're talking about a food insecure population that cannot be cared for by our current charitable infrastructure.
About 130,000 households with kids could lose some or all of their SNAP benefits. Carpenter noted that those families are already having a hard time since Tennessee opted out of the summer EBT program this year. Catherine Sweeney, WPLN News.
The Metro Action Commission is now feeding Nashville children who depend on free or reduced meals during the school year. The agency steps up during the summer months to make sure kids don't go hungry during the break. The food is available at about 100 youth programs, apartment complexes, and community centers in neighborhoods near those children's schools. Across Tennessee, many families are depending on the state-run Summer Food Service Program, which offers meals and snacks to eligible kids. But Governor Bill Lee's administration did choose to step away from participating in a larger federal program this year. The Tennessee Court of Appeals has ruled the state can cut Nashville Metro Council's membership in half. 2 judges on the court supported the decision. The third dissented. Yesterday's ruling overturns a lower court decision from last year that determined a state law shrinking Metro Council violated the Home Rule Amendment of the Tennessee Constitution. That means the state can't pass laws targeting a specific local community without the approval of the local government. However, in its ruling, the appeals court says the state law did not target Metro Nashville because it limits the size of local councils across the state. Nashville just happens to be the only local government that's currently over the size limit. Tennessee House Majority Leader William Lamberth praised the decision. Nashville Vice Mayor Angie Henderson says she's disappointed and will speak with Metro Legal about next steps. Meanwhile, Nashvillians swarmed the Metro Council last night to lodge their wishes for city spending. Over 100 residents spoke at the council's annual public budget hearing, offering their thoughts on the mayor's proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year. That proposal is about 15% larger than previous years, with increased funding from Metro schools, parks, police, and more. It would be possible in large part because of a property tax hike. However, almost all speakers commented on programs they felt lacked dollars. This included things like the new Office of Youth Safety, Metro employees' yearly cost of living adjustment, and the Barnes Housing Trust Fund.
I'm here to ask for full funding of the varsity spending plan. Gun violence is something that our community needs to address.
Something like the 4% COLA would be extremely beneficial in raising the pay for people so that everyone can take part in our economy. Help some of us maybe stay in the city. I, for one, had to leave. I now live over an hour away.
We can today start to make a dent in this affordable housing shortfall. But we lack one major resource, and that's funding.
That was Mia Willis, Dion Floyd, and Eddie Latimer. The Metro Council will likely propose substitute budgets now that they've heard the wishes of constituents. The council will have to agree on one by the end of the month. Otherwise, the mayor's original proposal will take effect. Nashville produces more vinyl records than any other city in the United States. And this week, vinyl manufacturers from around the world have gathered in Memphis for an industry conference. One issue being discussed is the pervasiveness of bootleg, counterfeit, and pirated albums. Greg Schoner says it's been a huge issue for quite some time.
Piracy's been around forever. You can do a lot of reading about Beatles, like Let It Be. The last statistic I read about Let It Be was it was released, and 1 out of every 4 records of that released in the U.S. was a counterfeit product.
Schoner added that even today, about 25% of records made are illegal bootlegs. To combat that fraud, the Vinyl Record Manufacturers Association created an intellectual property rights form that's designed to encourage presses to screen customers who might be trying to press someone else's music. Dollar General set a quarterly sales record during the first 3 months of the Trump administration. The Goodlettsville-based chain far outpaced expectations, raking in more than $10 billion as Americans tighten their budgets and spend more at dollar stores and off-price retailers amid economic uncertainty. The U.S. economy shrank from January through March, the first drop in 3 years. President Donald Trump's trade wars disrupted business, and consumer spending slowed sharply. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. CMA Fest isn't the only music gathering happening in Nashville this weekend, and my colleague Celia would like to tell you all about it.
I'm Celia Gregory in for Marquise Munson with another edition of Nashville Public Radio's What Wear Wednesday, keeping you up to date with the happenings in Nashville this week. There are all sorts of shows happening during CMA Fest, of course, but if country music is not really your flavor, you can surely stay busy elsewhere. Like seeing partially local group Illiterate Light at the Blue Room on Thursday. Virginia, carry me, take me back home. Or on Saturday at the 3rd Avenue Block Party hosted by Brooklyn Bowl and Tailgate Brewing, featuring a vintage market, pop-up tattoo parlor, bowling, and music right there on 3rd Avenue North. Stick around and see indie pop group Tennis playing Brooklyn Bowl that night on their final tour. For more opportunities to get out, visit WNXP.org/events. This week for What Wear Wednesday, we discuss the 3rd annual Jorts Fest, hosted this year at Eastside Bowl on both Friday and Saturday. This community gathering and celebration of denim shorts features 40 bands, including big-name touring acts, Laura Jane Grace and Illuminati Hotties, plus lots of locals like Nordista Freeze and Dad Hats. Co-founder of Jorts Fest, Joe Halby, dropped by WNXP to talk about the growth of this event and what attendees might expect on the 6th and or the 7th.
All right. Well, I'm Joe Halby, and I organize Jorts Fest with a crew of people. Jorts Fest is a cool DIY Nashville event. This year's at Eastside Bowl, which went from East Room to Cobra to Eastside Bowl, and that's June 6th and 7th.
That's growth, baby. So yeah, somebody went last year and told me they thought this was a ska-themed festival, but you've pitched it as a denim-drenched celebration of pop punk. So tell me about the selection of artists here and booking for this, because it's a 2-day thing. It's like a lot of people on this bill.
Yeah, we go from everything. So we did have some ska before. We have less ska this year, but a little. Really just eclectic, anything, everything. It's really about the vibe. If you're a community-based, fun-loving kind of group, you can be on it. So we have anything from MC Lars this year to Laura Jane Grace.
All the buds talk too. They're out of champagne, haze and rookies. I've been gone for weeks and I haven't washed out once yet. Are your wings
amazing?
To Illuminati Hotties, Bass Drum of Death, like everything. We have all of it.
So tell me, when you say there's a celebration, what else can folks expect if they go this Eastside Bowl? Is it like single day tickets or a 2-day pass, or how does that work?
Yeah, so single day passes, yep, you can come Friday or Saturday. Those are $25. But for 2 days, $40. It's $1 a band. So we have 40 bands, and it's $40 for 2 days.
That's a pretty good deal, and especially if you're making sure these bands get paid. Sounds like you're doing this real community service here with this event. Did you grow up on this kind of music? When you said like old school hip hop, but like what was the advent of this for you?
Yeah, no, so grew up a lot of indie rock, pop punk, stuff like that. I liked MC Lars because he toured with bands like Real Big Fish and stuff. Real Big Fish was my first show in high school.
Wow.
So then Laura Jane Grace from Against Me, that was kind of my end of high school, growing up on that. And I think just being around Nashville and seeing our growing punk rock, pop punk scene happening is what we were like, we should try to just get everybody together for a weekend and see what happens. And that was the first year. And then last year we were like, let's see what can happen a little bit more. And then we're like, let's just see how far we can take it. And I mean, we're a little overwhelmed right now.
Because of the number of bands or what?
The number of bands, the size of the venue. I mean, it's just a lot bigger. We partner with some great people, though. PBR is helping us out. We've got the Village Forager and Homegrown helping us out with stuff. But yeah, I'd say if you haven't seen some of these local Nashville bands, this is your chance to come see them paired with some really cool Nashville acts, too. Laura Jane Grace hasn't played here for a while. She's amazing. Yeah. Illuminati Hotties is blowing up right now. She just had a tiny desk.
I'm irritated, clench my jaw and tell a lie. But I know that you're patient, muscle through my rotten vibe.
Bass Drum of Death, they live here, but they're not local, and they haven't played in 3 years here. So you can come see these big bands, and then some of our smaller bands come out, and just have fun with us.
Yeah, and Eastside Bowl, of course, a cool venue that there's a performance space in the back. There's also bowling in the front and a nice bar area, so you can sort of make a whole day or night of it, right?
Yeah, and we have 3 stages. You walk in, there's a stage on the left, show. You walk through by the bowling alley, there's a stage there, show. You go all the way back to the venue, show.
So it's a takeover, Jorts takeover of Eastside Bowl.
That's right.
Now, is it Jorts required? Do you have uniforms here?
Yeah, so if you come without Jorts, we'll still take your money. You can still come in and enjoy the fest. But last year we did have people cutting their jeans at the fest on stage. So
as
really
though it
fun.
was a requirement.
Yeah.
So celebration of jean shorts. It's not ironic. It is the culture of the thing. We love the size of this bill, and I hope that the overwhelm is all worth it because so many folks packing out Eastside Bowl. So this is June 6th and 7th. Again, 1 and 2 day options for you. So if you have the time and you have the will, make the way to Eastside Bowl. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Wherever you go, that voice haunts you on radio.
For more information about Jorts Fest and other events happening this week, visit WNXP.org. I'm Celia Gregory, and thank you for listening to another edition of What Wear Wednesday.
Searching, but you know what you're looking for. Chemicals burning, but you can't take them.
We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday, so subscribe in your favorite podcasting app to make sure you never miss an episode. And if you like this, you'll probably enjoy the Nash Villager newsletter too. You'll get perspective from more of my colleagues at Nashville Public Radio and links to the stories we're following. Sign up for those daily emails at WPLN.org/NashVillager. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.